Hi, how's everybody doing? Good. My name's Julie Doan. Do you recognize me from the movie? Awesome. Yay. I haven't changed too much. That guy was in there too. That's Dr. Doan. I'm Julie Doan. This is David Ingram and Carissa Phelps. I'm going to moderate tonight. This is our open mic session for Q&A. I just want to give a quick update. The gal that our main character, Anna, she didn't let this thing that happened to her define her. And so she's living a full life now. She's in California, she's married, she has kids, she's a nurse. So these tragic things, they do happen. I'm a survivor of trauma from my childhood as well. This is something that's horrible, but it doesn't define us. And we are living victorious, and we are survivors, right? So our panelists are going to introduce themselves briefly so that we can get to the questions and answers. So we'll start with...
I'm Colonel, you guys hear me? I'm Colonel Ingram with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. I'm in charge of half of investigations at the Sheriff's Office, which is missing persons, cold case, warrants, real time, and forensic services, as well as computer crimes falls under me as well. And part of our mission at the Sheriff's Office is engaging and enforcing. This is part of that engagement aspect. Without your eyes and ears telling us what you see in the public, it's a multiplier for us on our end, getting information as to, hey, we're seeing this crime happen, we're seeing this happen, or you guys are taking the time right now from an aspect, good for you, that you're actually getting here and educating yourself about what's actually going on, what you're seeing on social media aspects. That is a huge aspect we're starting to see now. So I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of questions. I'll go to the next candidate, let them introduce themselves. But I have a master's in public administration, and I also am a graduate with the FBI Academy as well. So I'll turn that over to the next person to let them know what they have to say.
I'm Carissa Phelps, and I am a member of our community. I was as shocked and horrified as you to watch this film. The ways that people find to harm children is deplorable, it's awful, and I want to help. As a survivor myself who was trafficked at 12 years old, I try to give voice and power back to people who have that taken from them. As a lawyer today and having an MBA, I do that in a variety of ways, through lawsuits, through writing new legislation, through revamping legislation that we have out there that needs to protect our children and our society, really, where we are, so we could be safe. And I also build businesses where survivors can have that full life and have the opportunity to work in any field that they want to have opportunities.
Can I borrow this? Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Andrew Doan. I am a Navy physician. I'm still active duty, so I have to say that anything I say today is my personal opinion, and it doesn't reflect the U.S. Navy, the Department of Defense, or the Department of Health Agency. But I am a specialist in ophthalmology and also in aerospace medicine. But I spent 3 years in San Diego with mental health, where all I did was research, talk about this, thought about it, present, traveled all over the world, educating and writing papers. And so that's why I'm here. I'm trying to help you understand that it's a biological mechanism why your kids are vulnerable.
So do we have anybody that has any questions for our panel? We have quite a diverse, we have lots of experience up here. So we would like to answer any of your questions.
So just speaking anonymously, I know someone who has a 13-year-old daughter who was communicating with someone online. She found out about it and tried to take her daughter's phone away and take away the privileges. And now the daughter is calling the police on the mom, saying that she's hurting her. And it's just absolutely insolent and is in depression, massive depression. Any thoughts on how to break forward with somebody who's so caught in the web they can't see that they're being exploited? Go ahead.
Oh, I was an out of control youth. I was labeled as out of control. I was labeled as, many other things besides a victim of something. So my hunch is she's already been a victim of something. All over this device, somebody has hurt her, and now she's trying to cry out for help. So the best people are here, actually in this room, I think today. We've got counselors here to connect your friend with. Immediately, that needs to happen because somebody has been victimized. She's a victim. And unfortunately, we see the acting out first, and that's exactly what keeps this hidden. So my very strong hunch is she's been hurt.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Victoria Dunkley is a pediatric psychiatrist. She wrote a book called Reset Your Child's Brain. And if you go to my YouTube channel as well, Dr. Doan, just search that on YouTube, there's digital drugs and also digital detox. So I kind of go through a detox mechanism. But what Dr. Victoria Dunkley showed was that kids who overuse media and often who have been traumatized, they will have depression, anxiety, poor sleep, even mental disorders. But the amazing thing is that Dr. Dunkley, who's out in Southern California, and she's a pediatric psychiatrist and MD, she says taking the screens completely away, 100% resolved most mental illnesses in these kids within 1 month. That is why most rehab centers take 1 month to get the addict through that process, because the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis that drives the addictive hormonal pathways in your body and brain resets in 1 month. Then the counseling happens and the therapy, and you walk that child through recovery. But 1 month, that child will stop calling the police. It happens every time.
And I'm assuming from a law enforcement standpoint, she's reported this to law enforcement, the activities going on the phone.
Child is reported to the mom.
But what about the mom reporting her activities on her phone? Like, has she turned that, does the phone belong to the mother?
I think the child has it all the time.
No, what I'm saying is the phone, she's a juvenile, correct? So the phone is actually paid for by the mother? Okay, so the mother owns the phone. I'm curious as to what's on the phone. What is she doing on that phone? And that could be something the mother could consent to have searched. And part of my division is forensic services, so if it happened in Escambia County, that would be an avenue we would go to the mother and say, okay, report this information to us, let us look at the phone with your consent. We're going to check and see if there's some type of activity going on that phone. Is she doing something? Has she sent pictures to some unknown person that may be motivating her to do the actions that she's doing as well? And there might be something criminal we can pursue.
So where would she take the phone to?
Well, what jurisdiction is she in is the question. Okay, then she needs to, I'll get you my information at the end of this.
Am I correct in that it is you cannot own a phone over the age of 18? I think that they can't legally own a phone.
There is an age restriction on it. She may have paid for it. Someone else might have bought the phone for her. That would be a question I would have. If someone's provided the phone for her who's an adult, why did they give that phone to her? That would be another thing. Her guardian is her mother, or the adult that's in her life. They have certain rights to control what their juvenile is doing. So that would be. I'll get you my information, and I would like you to forward it to your friend, and we can go from there. And I can get more specifics as to what's going on that end of it.
And his team also has trained therapists and psychologists.
Yeah, we have victim advocates as
people
well,
that
and we
work
can get them
with-
we can get them nonprofit. We have some nonprofits that we use that can get them assistance as well. So.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I was just wondering, is this movie shown at high schools?
Opal
And junior
Yeah,
high.
I mean, Opal got the idea, which we're friends with Opal. I know Opal from California too. But Opal had the idea because she was going out to high schools, talking about sex trafficking, talking about the things that mattered to her and the work she was doing around there. And people were, kids were reporting this to her. She was coming out speaking on sex trafficking, and then they started reporting these incidents to her. And she started doing the survey that she spoke about and found the numbers. And so right now, if schools are not paying attention, then I would say, as an attorney, they're turning a blind eye. they're negligent, if they're not paying attention, if they're not looking at their curriculum and including something about this and safety around it, then they're looking the other way.
And so does the superintendent know about this movie? And can the superintendent make sure that these schools are getting?
I can answer it. I can answer it this way. Last year, we partnered with the school to actually go and actually do education on cyber bullying and cyber safety for kids. We actually met and did some training, both at the school level for the children, and then also from an adult level. Some parents came in kind of like you're doing now. We did not show this particular film, because at the time, I don't know if it was available to us at that time. So I know that they showed it last year at an event, at a summit, but that was not one of the films that we showed. But we actually did some actual cyber security and cyber training that was a request by the school board to do on their level. So I had one of my sergeants actually do the training. So the training is being held, but not. I don't know if this film's ever been shown at a school.
Hi, I work at a middle school, and so I work with the children that we're talking about. And just so you know, prior to the presentation, I did email my principal to see if she was interested in bringing this into our schools, if it was an option. And she responded with, yes, please get some more information. So we will work on trying to get this into our schools. I will personally work very hard to try to get this into our schools. As a matter of fact, we are required as teachers in our district to provide a mentor program, it's like one Thursday a month we spend about 15-20 minutes talking about different issues that might be plaguing. This Thursday, I actually, because I knew this was coming up, I chose to show them the presentation on trafficking. And so that led us into all these conversations. Now, prior to me doing the presentation that was provided by our district, I did ask all of my students that was in the class, there were about 50 of them because we combined classes, and I did say, all right, I'm not telling any of your parents, but have any of you downloaded apps that you have been forbidden to download by your parents? And all of them, except maybe 2 or 3, raised their hand. And of course, they have. We've experienced it. We know all of the things. I guess, I'm sorry, my question is, with these students who are given this information, they know this, they see their peers being caught with explicit images on their phone, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. What is it that we can boil this down to make them understand the severity of what's going on? Because words aren't seeming to help.
Well, Dr. Doan's going to have a much clearer answer about this, but what I know is that the prefrontal cortex, and you know this as a teacher, right, is not going to be developed, so they're not going to be having the same reasoning and sort of forward thinking about their future. So saying, oh, this is going to impact you long term, now celebrities coming out and talking about it, people who are their influencers coming out and talking about it and saying, no, I didn't want to do that. No, that did hurt me, right? That could click. Something can happen there, and I don't know all the psychology behind why that's so much better than just a parent telling them, you can't do it, except probably something biological about procreation, and we're supposed to disobey our parents. But it's it's this thing that their peers and then people they look up to, getting them to understand that this message isn't just coming from us, grandparents, parents, teachers.
So the human brain doesn't develop fully until age 25. My wife would argue that men are like 50, right? But that's the problem. You're trying to tell a toddler to carry a 50-pound weight, and they can't. Physiologically, they can't. The problem is, you look at a 12-year-old, and they look like they can handle it, but their brain are the size of probably, equivalent of a squirrel. You see what I'm saying? So the problem is parents really have to step in and help them. Just as you would help the toddler not to stick their fingers in the light socket or touch the burning stove, right? This is a burning stove. These phones are burning stoves. But we give it to them because we want our kids to be cool and accepted. So this is my advice. Give them a cell phone, give them an iPhone, but lock it down like a regular flip phone. That's what we did with our kids. They don't have internet access. They may get some Wi-Fi access with their friends or whatever. You lock it down. They don't even have the app store. So technically, you look at their phones and they only have music and whatever apps you want. Follow the lead of the rich and famous. You guys know about Waldorf schools? So in 2013, approximately, there was a Wall Street Journal article on where the tech executives like Steve Jobs, CEO of HP, Microsoft, all those guys, they send their kids to Waldorf schools, which are touchy-feely schools that cost $40,000 a year plus, okay? They sign a contract that they have no technology access until age 16. 16. So as their kids develop their brains more advanced, the rest of society is getting dumbed down. You see where I'm going with this? So you want your kids to be smart, follow what they do. So Waldorf schools got criticized by the parents and said, hey, are they going to be behind? So Waldorf did a study and showed that at 16, when they give them a smart device like a phone or iPad, how long do you think it took them to catch up to everyone else? 6 months. But they're ahead.
And I would add, the business side of that equation too, is we could prevent some of these businesses from putting the 50-pound weight on our children, right? We can actually build in regulations and requirements for them from the beginning. If, like myself, I have an investor who, my investment professional looks at different companies. Well, I ask him really annoying questions, right, about those companies. And if more of us could do that and look at it the way that some people have looked at climate change and impact on our environment, how we're making investments, well, impact on our youth, that spells everything. That impacts everything. That is our future. So why aren't we asking about that and making that a priority when our investment dollars are going to work?
There is some recent legislation coming out where, like, applications on your phone, like Facebook, have to get verification before they open a new account. So that doesn't count the existing accounts that are out there. So there is some legislation coming out where they have to have a second verification. That means you're going to have to send a driver's license, or you're going to have the parent approve that application to be open for it to be. So it's actually targeting adults versus saying a juvenile can actually open it. So that's a plus in the right direction when it deals with applications. But not all apps are going to be following that because they're not all made in the United States.
Any more questions?
So I was really intrigued. I think you called it virtual autism. I'm a psychometrist, so I do testing, and I test a lot of kids for autism. And is this something that's going to be similar? Like there's going to be a spectrum of, a degree of, and what are we doing to educate the psychiatrists that are currently, we're trying to diagnose autism in these children, and does it look different than the autism that we're currently diagnosing?
Those are good questions. So we need more research to define exactly what virtual autism looks like, and it's a spectrum. The best way I can describe that is it really takes an ophthalmologist to recognize this, because, for example, if the eyes are not aligned, meaning one eye points like that way, the eye that points this way, the brain shuts off connections from day one of birth. That's why it's a medical emergency, to realign the eyes, give glasses, do surgery, and then patch the good eye 4 hours a day, make the brain work with the bad eye, and the child literally recovers vision in a matter of weeks to years. We're seeing the same thing now. So a child in front of a screen, they're just patching their brain. So they're looking at Cocomelon, let's say, that changes scenes every 3 to 5 seconds. They're so engaging, and they're learning colors, and they're looking at the shapes and looking at all the movements. The areas of the brain that involves language, eye-to-eye contact, patience, impulse control, executive functions. These are all things that are lacking in autistic kids, right? They will go to the wayside, and the areas of pattern recognition, color recognition, number recognition, whatever, will enlarge and literally take over the other areas of the brain. By age 18, it becomes permanent. So it depends on the dosage. I've seen kids who come in severely autistic at age 2. We take everything away. Within 6 months, they are normal, literally. 6 months. The parents that don't listen, wait until 10, it takes 8 years. Those who wait until 18, it's permanent brain damage. We are so far behind. And there's such pushback because I get emails from my colleagues calling me a quack. So that's why I made my YouTube channel. And so the virtual autism video where I explain what I explained to you in about maybe 15 minutes so people can understand brain development more. There's people coming now that's saying they're doing it. They're taking away and their kids are getting better. So we're behind because the rates of autism, so the movie said 1 in 54. In 1970, it was 1 in 5,000 kids. NPR reporter called me and tried to harass me. I ghosted her, I didn't give her the time. She wanted to challenge my comment in the movie. She's saying this is ridiculous, this is not research-based, this is overblown. The movie comes out, guess what happens? CDC upped the rate of autism to 1 to 36. We're an exponential rise. If we don't do something about this, you will see it be 1 and 2 in probably 10 years. Then we'll probably do something about it. It's too late. We've lost an entire 2 decades of kids, maybe 4. I'm passionate about this. So I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
I have a question about the technology. I have a middle schooler, and the kids are in front of Chromebooks all day for school. What do we do then? I mean, what is, you know what I mean?
If they're not, so there are educational standards that go beyond just knowing content, right? Or knowing how to engage with that content. So I would be curious if parents, or maybe there's a PTA person here or somebody like that is actually looking at the educational standards and holding those schools accountable that are turning their kids into just screen kids, because they're probably not meeting all of the standards that the state has set up for them.
I also know they have restrictions on those Chromebooks, so they can't go on certain sites with those. So they would have to get their outside, they'd have to have an outside source in order to access those sites that they were talking about in this.
I guess for me, it's just that they're in front of screens all day long.
I think they need to be out running around doing what children should be doing and educating by a book. And I think that's a requirement too. So, yeah.
So I try to break it down into digital veggies versus digital sugar. Because you never see a kid addicted to broccoli or cauliflower. If they were truly addicted to their Chromebooks for educational use, they would all get Bright Future scholarships and full ride scholarships, right? But they're not. They're going for the digital candy. So as long as they're locked down and they can't go to the porn and video games, it's okay. But trust me, they will, because the Los Angeles School District did this experiment for you. They purchased $1 billion worth of iPads, gave it to high school seniors. These are, 16 to 18, so the high school. Within 2 weeks, the students jailbroke the iPads and installed video games and pornography. It was a $600 million lawsuit against Apple. So we don't have to do any more research. We don't have to do any more experiments on whether the kids can handle it. LA did it for us. You see what I'm saying? So if they're on digital veggies, it's okay, because they're not gonna, I have never seen a kid, unless they're autistic or Asperger's, really dive into a digital veggie, for 8 hours a day. We're talking about entertainment. So if you're looking at the hours of use for entertainment in front of screens, average kids beyond the Chromebook that you're talking about is 8 hours per day on their phones, because it's in their pockets.
Well, and that's 8 hours where they are opening themselves up to trafficking, right? They're opening themselves up to, if they're, and let's be honest, as adults, we have a hard time moderating our own behavior on the internet, right? And so we can't expect that our children are going to make much better choices than we are. Our brains are fully formed. So it's a heavy burden that we're placing on our youth, and they're anxious. This is the most anxious generation ever.
And we were talking in the back about, you guys will lock your doors, right, to keep bad guys out? Okay. You're allowed, if you have a phone in your house and your kids have access to it, you're allowing bad guys to have access to your kids.
At any given time,
unless you have some type of protections on that phone, or you have some type of software on there where you know every transaction that your child is doing on that phone, you're opening that door up for them.
Well, and there's at least 1 million predators online at any given time. 1 million predators online.
We saw a huge uptake after COVID because everybody was isolated. So what was your one thing to do? You went on your phone and you were seeing what the world was doing because you couldn't go out in the world. On a lot of these places that were shut down. Luckily, Florida opened their doors up a lot sooner than the rest of the place did. That actually added to this type of crimes being nationwide a little bit larger because that was the only outlet. The suspects try to figure out a way to feed their habits, and that's what they did during COVID.
Those are excellent points by Colonel Ingram, and I would add that game systems too. PlayStations, Xboxes, Wiis, anything with internet access will open your children to predators because these game companies have not cooperated and make it they made it very difficult to try to keep adults from playing with kids because it's a matter of trying to get people to play together because that makes them more money. So really, it's crazy. That's a whole different discussion about the gaming companies and what they're doing. And actually, there's a class action lawsuit that's been filed through a group of law firms, and they sued all the 35 plus gaming manufacturers for taking advantage of your children and also advertising to them in the games in a way that's unethical. That's how they're going to get them.
So one other question. We saw in this how social media is used for bullying and negative effects toward the kids. It causes them depression, want to commit suicide. But what about grooming towards things like OnlyFans, where they actually feel empowered, they're making thousands of dollars a month? Do you see this leading in through that? I mean, so it's kind of flipped, right? It's now I have this power over people.
There is a strong sort of pro-sex work movement, and the people that are typically, what I see behind that movement make money off of the sex industry. So they're pornography companies, websites, publishers, people that are making money off of the victims. And I will sit down and I will have full conversations with people who are, pro-sex work. That's what they're saying that they are. And I am an abolitionist. I want to get rid of any opportunity for someone to sell their bodies and turn their bodies into a commodity. Because I see that as a downward spiral. Once we start to regulate that, once we fully legalize that, then we're going to be asking for problems because there's going to be a huge demand increase. Just like in Nevada, people think it's legal in Nevada to have prostitution. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You hear all these things, right? And it's not legal in Las Vegas. But there's a huge demand for it. So guess what? There has to be supply. So that's where all our kids from small towns were being taken to and sold. It was one of the destination places, besides the horrible streets that we all know exist in different cities and locations. They would take them, break them down, rape them, and then bring them out to these streets and these places. So the supply will have to be there if we create that. Same thing with OnlyFans. If there's going to be a demand, then there's going to have to be supply. There's going to have to be people who are commoditizing their bodies in that way. And these are harmful acts that people are asked to do on video. So we haven't done enough research into how much harm goes on when you actually are participating in a video way, but you have no safety because this is happening in your home. You're in your home. You're in the place where you're supposed to be safe. So some early people like Dr. Melissa Farley have looked into the psychological harms of me being abused through a video system like that, and it is worse. They have more anxiety, they have more depression, they have more PTSD than if somebody was physically harming them at a different location outside of their home. So this is going to be something, again, another social experiment that we're going to do on human beings, and we're going to see the impact from.
I was thinking more of cam girls, who are there by themselves rather than someone being hurt by someone online. But
well, they get there. So there's a place in Florida where during the pandemic, this was reported widespread on the news. They were renting these storage facilities, turning them into video places, and the traffickers were taking them there and videoing them and getting them there and taking the money from that transaction. So these LLCs, they'll even get set up in the victim's name sometimes, but there's traffickers who are behind it who run that operation oftentimes. If there's a cam girl, there's going to be usually this trafficking operation behind it.
You know, this goes in line with, like, you know, the argument of gamers who say, oh, I want to play a video game and I'll be a pro gamer, because there's some pro gamers that make millions of dollars. But I broke it down for the gamers. About 1 in 6 million will make it. Okay? Or maybe 10 million, actually. That's the same thing with OnlyFans. I just looked it up on ChatGPT here. So the average creator makes only 150 to 200 per month. It's kind of like the average author of a book. Average authors only make $100 total. So most authors don't make any money. So most OnlyFans women aren't making money. And the ones who are like the 0.00001%, and then, or they're trafficked. You see? So that's the lie. So it's absolutely promoted by the porn industry, which, remember, you're dealing with a tens of billions of dollars of an industry. They make more money than all professional sports put together. Think about that.
Colonel Lanfinger? Colonel Lanfinger, can I ask you why only 1% of sexual assaults and rapes get dealt with in Pensacola?
Say that again?
Only 1% of all the rapes and molestations get looked at?
I'd like to know where your stats coming from.
From the sexual assault clinic.
Well, I'm not sure that that's an accurate percentage, because every case that comes into the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, we look at.
No, you don't look at
Yeah,
it. My name is Kathy Wade, and you're supposed to call me back about my sexual assault, and you won't do it.
I have never talked to you, ma'am. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've called up the FDLE.
Well, you haven't talked to FDLE is a different agency.
Calling me back is what I'm saying. That's
Well,
what I'm trying
I don't even know who you are, ma'am. I don't even know what case you're talking about. I can tell you what, after this, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Yeah.
And there are also, because there are people here in the audience who have had their experiences and haven't been heard, there are people here. Magdalene's made sure of it, that there would be law enforcement here ready to report, but also counselors and therapists as well. Because I can't tell you, I relate. Look, I have never had my day in court against the man who kidnapped me, who tortured me, who was going to take me off and kill me when I was 12 years old. And I was the one that got locked up. I was the one that became the juvenile delinquent and went to jail and was going to be thrown away to prison for the rest of my life. I was the one that continued to be abused on the streets. Nobody ever asked what happened until I was in law school, and I said, this is important, like that people understand that I didn't just make it here. I didn't just click my fingers and make it here. I look real normal to everybody. I think I still look normal, right? Like I look like I haven't been through maybe what I've been through, and it's important that people know, because I want other girls to know they could be here too. And so really, I didn't get my day in court. I have one person who raped me. He's out trying to become a lawyer right now. He's telling people, he's in my book. His name's Alex, and he's telling people I'm Alex in her book, because all I knew was his first name. So now I have a chance to identify him, and it scares me all the time, right? Like he's going to get more access to people, and I know how violent he is and what he did, and he's bragging about being this person and now wanting to become somebody who protects people with the law. You know, it really is scary, and we need to always have our voice. So I hope, you feel heard and that you're able to get heard. Anyone in this room who has their story, because it's so important, and I just know from a very personal experience how important that is and how it could keep you up at night.
Thank you. So just to say it again, we do have mental health counselors, sexual assault advocates, law enforcement officers, and prayer partners accessible to anyone who needs them. I did not get my day in court either. So a lot of us are silent victims, right? And or survivors.
We fight for others to have
Yes,
their voice.
exactly. And that's kind of the good that comes from the bad. Does anybody have any other question? We have another question?
Yes, I'm a survivor also. Is this on? I'm a survivor of being exploited into dancing for money for years and years. And I was sold and given away and passed on and numerous other things for years and years. And what I'm getting at is when you're young and you're in a household that has abusive not my mother by no means, but abuse towards my father. And it wasn't violence, it was, the wrong kind of love, to put it in a nice way. And I ran away. And I ran right into the arms of other people that wanted to abuse and use and misuse me. But my question is, how can we help those that are in the process of being thrown out onto the streets by no choice of their own? Excuse me. It's not working there, so you have to go. And you're a runaway and you have no choice. You get caught up in anxiety and people just throwing you to the wolves,
What I can tell you is we deal with missing persons and runaways as part of my division. And something that we changed under this present administration is we started looking at all the high-risk victims. Why are these juveniles running away all the time? What is causing them to run away? What is happening at that house? I can't say in your situation because I wasn't in charge of missing persons when you were running away or having issues, but we started looking at high-risk victims now. We're looking at our juveniles. If they run away multiple times, what is happening at that house? What can we do? What services can we provide them? SINFINs, which is children in needs, families in needs, can we get them the food they need? Because some of these are running away to make money for the house, because that's what they're being forced to do by their families. We're getting them SINFINs, which is children in need, families in need. We're getting different nonprofit organizations in the area involved to try to get them assistance. Our victim advocates getting involved to try to find out, and we're following up. We have Call to Rescue as an organization in town. They're a chaplain organization. They mentor children as well. We got them involved. Magdalene's is one of our partners who put this event on tonight, and I want to thank them for that, for sure, because otherwise we're not going to get out there and engage with our community and make this difference. There's 100 people in here. You have a chance to go out and talk to 10 other people. You can make an impact of 1,000 people. So that's what this is doing, okay? So we're fighting it a little bit at a time, trying to make that difference. Okay, and if we failed somebody, it's time for us to change that. So the two that I talked to today, I'm going to stand up here till I talk to you. So you have the opportunity to come speak to me in private. You have an opportunity to come speak to me now, whatever, and I'll help you. If I can do something, I'll help you. So those are some of the changes we're making on our end, is trying to figure out what's going on in those homes.
Experiences and your story is so important. It is so important because of the question that was just asked about OnlyFans, because people thinking you can go dance. I mean, we just had the law change that you have to be 21. Thank God. Thank heaven. Thank the Lord. You have to be 21 now. Yes, see, 15, 16. Those are the kids that I know are being taken into the clubs and being sold, or being sold behind the back door, right? And so we have to hold those places accountable. We cannot let them get away with this. It's basically just a crime ring running right in front of us, right under our noses.
Well, and also I've personally know that as someone who's survived childhood trauma, that me helping other people has been so life-giving to myself. And I can say, they can't say, well, you don't know what I've been through. I've been through a couple things. So an organization like Magdalene's, get involved with them. There's so much work to be done, and we can do that work. And so my encouragement is, if this is something that you're passionate about, do something. Get involved. Ask them how you can get involved. Be boots on the ground. Give money. Whatever your gifting is, there's something that you can do. And so, I want to encourage you, help. We need men to help too. We need men to step in that place and say, I'm gonna stand in and protect. I'm all for toxic masculinity. We need some of that. I mean, yeah, so exactly. Non-toxic masculinity, healthy masculinity.
So I just want to say a couple things here. So I want to encourage you all and applaud you for being here. Think about how big our city is, and here we are, 100 strong, right? And so you guys are ahead of the curve. You can make a huge change. Two, you're also fighting a huge industry that makes billions and billions and billions of dollars. Man, I sound like Trump when I say that. Billions and billions and billions. Anyway, so billions, right, off of our children. And the reason why is that the porn industry has changed our minds to want younger faces. So the research shows that 1/3 of all porn is actually probably pedophilia.
Yes.
And because the porn watcher has to escalate, and I'm going to tell you this little biology of why this is happening and why we need your help in fighting. So in 1950, there's a sheep experiment where you put a ram with a sheep. With the same sheep, it took longer and longer for the ram to engage sexually with that sheep, okay? It just got bored. When you switch out that sheep with a new sheep, it would hump until exhaustion. Think about that. That is internet porn. Porn 30 years ago came in a mail, broke it up every 30 days. You didn't have the intense dopamine hit to the brain. But now you do, so you have to escalate. So now all the routine soft porn. So Opal Singleton often says, you know, yesterday's porn is today's norm. You see where I'm going with that, right? You understand that? So therefore, the brain is now in exponential normalization of deviant sexual behaviors. This is why anal sex and oral sex rates have gone incredibly high in the youth because of porn. For the first time in history, and it just came out in the journal Nature last month, for the first time in history, throat cancer through HPV, which is normally the cause of cervical cancer, is now outpacing cervical cancer because of the high rates of oral sex, which they learned from pornography, which the porn executives sell that because people are escalating the content. So yesterday's porn is no more exciting. They have to see the intense, the weird, the violent, the rape, the choke porn. It's terrible. So when I did this whole study, 3 years of mental health, and I listened to Ted Bundy. You remember Ted Bundy? Okay, so here I am, listen to his testimony. People need to listen. Not everyone's a killer. Not everyone's a rapist. But we are increasing rapists and killers because of their porn exposure. You see what I'm saying? Ted Bundy said that basically this is how he escalated. He was a peeping Tom. Being a peeping Tom was not enough. So then he became a rapist. Rapist was not enough. So he then started to kill. You see? He even said in prison it was pornography that was the trigger. Why don't we listen to the experts? We don't listen to the experts that send their kids in Waldorf, and we don't listen to the expert who's an expert rapist who got away with raping and was very good at it and only got caught because he was a routine traffic stop here
in Pensacola.
Yep.
Because of Florida, Florida police.
That's my soapbox.
Yeah, keep the mic away from him.
I wanted to share something. I'm over here in the top. I grew up in foster care, and now I'm advocating for that population. But the Lord has blessed me to be an author of 3 books. And out of those books, there's testimonies of foster alumni who have experienced being human trafficked. And so the Lord gave me a dream about 4 weeks ago, and it was about how he wanted to use me about this topic. So I'm actually happy to see all these people in the room. To me, this is really exciting, but I just want to know, I know you said that we can get involved, but it's like I'm ready today, or I'm ready last week. When can I get going?
Okay, so you and I meeting, and then we're going to go over and meet with Dr. Doan, and he's going to show us how to create content with our stories in 5 seconds. Now, 10 seconds, he says. So you getting the tools the technology tools, the AI tools, getting set up with the tech suite that Dr. Doan has, so that that information you have and what God has put on your heart to share with others and to help give platforms for other survivors who want to come forward. Maybe they want to stay anonymous, but they want to share their stories because it'll help other people, it'll help law enforcement understand what's going on in their communities. That's important for you to get connected up and to get those tools. To me, that's my life goal, is to make sure that you and others who are out there who want to get connected with those tools, who have the stories to tell, that you're not silenced, that it's something that could be shared.
Well, what I've been blessed with is that everyone wants to share their story. They want to share their pictures, because that's what the book's, it's an anthology.
So that needs to be wide, right? Available,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
accessible.
Yeah.
It sounds like amazing opportunity and connection that I just made. That's my job. I made connection.
Very good.
I'm a connector.
Yeah, so Carissa is building a social media presence. This is the right time, so the iron's hot. And I'm a kind of a tech geeky guy, so I like ChatGPT and AI tools, and so I can help you get those stories out. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, that kind of thing, and then create awareness, and then use storytelling, effective storytelling. Like the stories that we hear today that are moving people, right? To tell those stories and get them to be noticed.
Your story is so important, and it's amazing. The solutions are all around us. God's given us all these gifts and these God appointments, I call them, right? That we have to make and show up for. But you're living proof. You have your thumbprint, you have all your life experiences. Some of you, maybe you'll annoy your financial planner the way I do now, or something. You'll do something that is really important and is going to make a difference.
Hi. This is kind of difficult, but I had a daughter last year at this time that she's an adult. She was 25, autistic, and was lured from Facebook into a human trafficking situation. I was sent a video by one of her traffickers of her being drugged, and that's how I found out. With the help of Safe in the Panhandle and Mr. Bruce Bailey, yes, I was able to get her rescued. Yes. It's been challenging because of her autism, and she's been in programs for human trafficking, but we're still struggling. At her age, when she was young, there was really not testing for autism, and at this point, I'm now struggling. I'm wanting to get her tested so that I can get her the help she needs. And right now she's in a program in Orlando, and every day I talk to her, she cries because she feels that she's kind of being even kind of bullied. She's an easy target, even in these programs. So I'm just wondering if anyone here has any resources for her.
Well, she's from our community, and somebody just said they did psychological testing. Yes. Okay. Do I get to be the connector? Can I keep doing this? Can I be like Oprah and be like, so you guys do this. Network. You raised your hand. Thank you so much. I wouldn't have put ball and told you to do that. So can you guys connect? Can you get that testing done? Bruce is amazing. He continues to listen. He isn't there just for the rescue. He's not just a flash in the pan. He's not the hero syndrome sort of person. He's a real person. He understands this is a long haul, and so he would be interested in supporting if the testing does happen. How do we do more of that, right? How do we get that to be part of our community and so that safety net in our community that we need? So it's earlier testing. I believe that I have it in my family, and that we have some propensity towards being somewhere on the spectrum, and it is hard. It's hard to read social cues. It's hard to understand when you're in danger. You almost sometimes take these steps that look like you're really brave, but you just don't understand the danger, and so it is a very threatening risk. I understand that. I'm sorry you've had to deal with it alone for so long.
So Julie and I know a woman named Catherine Lee, and she helps trafficked women recover. And there's a ranch out in Texas, and they do, they raise animals and horses, and it's been a really good program out there, and she's been really successful. And maybe there's an opening for you to, refer your.
Traffickers are in Texas. That's where she was trafficked in San Antonio.
Well, I understand. And but Catherine is out there. Her ranch, she has security. She's been doing it for a long time, and so that could be an option. There are recovery, situations, but this one is a Christian based, and it's around women that are kind and loving, and can support each other.
I just wanted to speak up real quickly. I'm not sure what the program is your daughter's in currently, but our corner here, we are the mental health counselors on staff if anyone ever needs to talk before, after, anytime. We actually offer therapeutic services. We're based in Fort Walton, but we've done even telehealth, but we would be more than happy to speak to you about offering additional therapeutic services, not only for your daughter, for yourself, or anyone else affected by this terrible tragedy. So we are on staff here right now, but we definitely are available at any time if you need to reach out for additional therapeutic services for her.
So many questions. Thanks for your patience. I'm wondering how prevalent are men involved in these trafficking situations, whether it's online or being abducted for labor trafficking or sex trafficking. Also wondering, second question, if actual teenage boys, who really are teenage boys, are being predators toward girls and like pimping out their girlfriends or something like that. Is that something you're seeing much of, or is that not really an issue?
Pensacola is not a large hub for trafficking. It ends up being a central point for like where they come or where they try to recruit. Your bigger, like Atlanta, Las Vegas, those are the actual hubs for what we're seeing on our end of it. A lot of the trafficking ends up being a federal case because they cross state lines or they go. So when we get something like that, like I was talking to them earlier, where we started tracking human trafficking cases, we had 5 in 2023. 3 of them were labor trafficking cases. We don't have jurisdiction on a labor trafficking case. That's a federal case. The other ones ended up being one in Las Vegas where they actually came. There was a connection here with a juvenile, but they ended up going to Las Vegas. And I'm not going to speak too much on that one because it's still ongoing, and it's a federal case. A lot of the cases that we deal with that potentially become human trafficking cases become federal cases. We look at cases on what we can charge here, like sexual battery, fraud, embezzle, some type of financial crime. If I can prove that this suspect's doing some type of financial crime, I go after that. And I do a charge that I can put that suspect in jail as quick as I possibly can, because I want to get that bad guy out of the picture. Sometimes the survivor gets caught in the mix, and we have to do charges on them as well to get them out of that situation for the time being. The state is aware of those type of cases so that they can get the services that they need when we deal with them on our end. I'm not saying that it's a perfect system. Our system's not 100% perfect. I don't think there is a 100% perfect system out there, unfortunately. But we are more educated now about human trafficking than we ever have been. FDLE requires every law enforcement agency in the state of Florida to have human trafficking training. Ask the right questions. When you do a traffic stop, what are you seeing in that traffic stop? The people in that traffic stop, are they communicating? Is there signs that, hey, maybe something's going on in there? And if there is, start asking the right questions. Separate them away from the people that are in that car. So there's different things that we've educated our law enforcement officers on now that we didn't tend. I've been in law enforcement over 18 years. It's adapted over the different crimes. Internet, we're starting to do intel type work now, where we don't need the survivor to communicate the crime, so that we can go after them based on intelligence information that we get. That's why it's so important to engage in our public. Find out what information you may have, because it might be part of the puzzle that we're looking for to solve this crime that we got. Your question was about men. I don't think there's a number that I can say that men are less of a victim than females are. Because I can tell you right now, there's a local group called Cabot Heights. It's a housing location for young men, young boys, 13 to 18, that DCF, the state, actually houses them at. 2 years ago, we were getting 500 missing persons calls out of that place. in that time frame, in that year. And we started looking at why are we getting so many missing persons calls out of here? They were not being entertained. They were having, they're young boys. They want to do activities. They wanted to have certain things. It was opening the door for risky behavior. So we started getting involved with mentoring them, bringing in outside nonprofits into it. It dropped from 500 calls to 70. Okay, so there are actions that the sheriff's office is doing. We don't communicate everything we do like we should, but we're starting to do that now by engaging in the public. But we're making action. That was DCF. That's a DCF-run home for these young boys. When we went and I actually physically talked to them, the first thing out of their mouth was, well, nobody wants us. I'm 13, nobody wants me. Well, what about getting your GED? What about getting this so that you can do the things you want to do? What are your dreams? No one asked these kids these questions until we got involved. And sometimes you guys have to get involved. We have to get involved to solve these problems in our community. So to answer your question, I don't have a number to say how many boys are being affected by it. I'd say more girls are being affected by it than boys from what I'm seeing, but I don't have an actual number for you.
So there's a documentary on YouTube you all should watch. It's called Boys for Sale. It's by Professor Philpott. And that one is about pederasty. So in the Roman times, there is a concept of pederasty where you have heterosexual males interested in young boys who are pre-adolescent, okay? And so they want the young innocent boys. And these are heterosexual males ordering them up for sex. So many gay males were missing in this area in Texas. Dr. Philpott, after he published his documentary, was killed, okay? They said he committed suicide with a plastic bag over his head. I don't believe that one bit. Nothing has changed since then. Look at P. Diddy. He was trafficking and abusing girls and now also young boys. A good friend of mine is Dr. Jeffrey Hansen. He's now retiring from Madigan Medical Center. He's a civilian psychologist who specializes in adolescent trauma. He has young boys who are committing rape at the age of like 12 because they saw rape porn or they saw kind of violent porn. It's monkey see, monkey do, because we have mirror neurons. That is how we learn as human beings. If you can remember this, in surgery, I learn by watching somebody. Then I do the surgery, and then I teach somebody. If these young kids are watching porn that are super violent, super grotesque, super, aggressive, why don't you, as a society, why are we surprised when we see this happening over and over again? Something has to stop. This is like the autism rate. It's exponential crap. It's a crap show.
Well, first exposure, because of the cell phones, average first exposure to pornography is about 8 years old now. So that is a childhood trauma. That's trauma to your brain. We're going to need to wrap it up. Do you have something you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to say that Pornhub and all of those porn sites became what they were because of major financial institutions investing in them. That was your money. That was your people. That was the people we actually have a say and have a word to. So do not allow that to happen with this new development of technology and how rapid it is going to happen. We need to be in the front of it. We need to be stopping this and not cleaning up the mess the way that we're doing it now.
So there are goodie bags in the back. When Amanda Todd's mom found out that we were screening, she sent a little gift in the bags. Do you guys remember Amanda Todd from the movie? Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story. And like I said before, we have licensed health counselors, sexual assault advocates, and law enforcement officers here and prayer partners. So thank you so much for coming to our event and watching the movie. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend and stay safe.